Every empire in history has fallen. Every fiat currency has eventually collapsed. The Roman denarius, once the stable currency of the ancient world, succumbed to debasement. The French assignat, a paper promise backed by seized church lands, ended in hyperinflation. The Weimar papier mark, the symbol of a nation brought to its knees, all reduced to worthless paper. History is not a comforting story for those who trust in unbacked promises. For the last 50 years, since the final link to gold was severed in 1971, we have lived under the most ambitious fiat experiment ever conceived, the global dollar standard. But the cracks are no longer subtle. They are fault lines. The question isn't if our current system will collapse, but when. And more importantly, what are the signs, and how do we prepare? The first crack in the foundation is debt. Not just any debt, but a mountain of it so vast it's almost incomprehensible. The global debt has surpassed $300 trillion. This isn't just a number, it's a structural failure. In the United States alone, the national debt is growing by $1 trillion every 100 days. This exponential growth is not accidental. It is the inevitable outcome of a system where money is created through debt. When the government spends more than it collects, it issues bonds. The central bank then buys those bonds, effectively creating new money out of thin air to finance the deficit. This mechanism, often hidden behind complex terms like quantitative easing, is a perpetual motion machine for debt. There is no plan to pay it back. There never was. The only way out of this debt trap, historically, is default or inflation. The only way to manage this colossal debt is to print more money. But this isn't a solution. It's a hidden tax. Every new dollar printed devalues the money in your pocket. They called the recent surge in prices transitory, but the loss of your purchasing power is permanent. Inflation is the silent confiscation of wealth from the prudent saver to the indebted state. Think of the 1970s in America, after the gold standard was abandoned. Inflation soared, eroding the savings of an entire generation. Today, the scale of money printing is unprecedented, and the consequences are only beginning to be felt. The continuous expansion of the money supply, no longer constrained by any physical asset, is a political choice, not an economic necessity. It is a transfer of wealth from the many to the few. A financial system runs on trust, and that trust is breaking. We saw it with the collapse of major banks like Silicon Valley Bank and Credit Suisse. These weren't isolated incidents. They were symptoms of a deeper rot, the realization that the system is fragile and the promises of safety are hollow. People are waking up. They are fleeing to assets that cannot be printed, gold, and a new form of digital gold, Bitcoin. When citizens lose faith in the currency, they seek refuge in hard assets. This flight from fiat is the most dangerous signal for any government, because once trust is lost, it is almost impossible to regain. For decades, the US dollar has been the king, the global reserve currency, but its reign is being challenged. Nations like China and Russia are leading a global movement of de-dollarization. The BRICS nations are actively seeking alternatives for trade settlement, bypassing the dollar. The petrodollar system, the bedrock of American financial power for 50 years, where oil was priced exclusively in dollars, is fracturing as Saudi Arabia and other major producers explore non-dollar transactions. This is not just an economic shift, it is a geopolitical war fought with currencies. The end of the dollar's dominance would unleash chaos in global markets and accelerate the collapse of the fiat system as we know it. And in a final, desperate attempt to maintain control, governments are preparing their ultimate tool, Central Bank Digital Currencies, or CBDCs. This is not just a digital version of cash, It is programmable money, money that can be tracked, controlled, and even given an expiration date. Imagine a world where the government can decide what you can or cannot buy, or even if your money expires if you don't spend it fast enough. It's not about convenience, it's about total control. CBDCs are the last attempt by the central planners to save the old system by integrating a level of surveillance and control that is unprecedented in human history. So what happens when the dam finally breaks? History gives us a terrifying blueprint: hyperinflation. We saw it in Weimar, Germany, where people needed wheelbarrows of cash to buy a loaf of bread. We saw it in Zimbabwe. We see it in Venezuela today. Your life savings wiped out in a matter of months. This is the most common and most brutal end for fiat currencies. Another path is a monetary reset, a new Bretton Woods. The global elites meet behind closed doors and decide on a new system, a new global currency, perhaps tied to a basket of commodities or a digital reserve asset. But a reset designed by the architects of the old, broken system is not a solution for you. It's a solution for them. It is a way to wipe the slate clean of unpayable debt and restart the cycle of control, potentially using CBDCs as the new foundation. But there is another possibility, a scenario where the people choose a different path, a system based on mathematics, not on the promises of politicians, a return to sound money, a Bitcoin standard, a peaceful exit from the chaos. This is the choice we face. The collapse of fiat isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a historical inevitability. Every fiat currency has failed. Ours will not be different. The only question is, will you be ready? In a world of misinformation, the greatest shield is knowledge. Understand the history of money. Learn how the system truly works. Don't trust, verify. The more you learn, the less you will fear. Education is the first step to sovereignty. Don't keep all your eggs in one basket, especially if that basket is on fire. Diversify into assets that are outside the traditional system, assets that have proven their worth over centuries, like gold, and assets designed for the digital age, like Bitcoin. The ultimate goal is to become your own bank. Take control of your wealth. Learn the importance of self-custody. Not your keys, not your coins. Build skills, create value, and foster strong communities. In the coming world, resilience will be the most valuable asset. The collapse of fiat is happening now. The question is no longer, what is money? The question is, what kind of money do we want? Do we want money controlled by the few, or money controlled by the code? In the next video, we'll explore the alternative that's been growing in the shadows for 15 years, Bitcoin. The question isn't if the system will collapse, it's what comes next.